There is a reading in which Edgar Cayce was asked to describe the planes that entities pass into after what we call death, and the answer begins with something unexpected. The reading explained that in making passage from the material consciousness to a spiritual or cosmic consciousness, a soul entity often is not aware of the new environment, much in the same manner as an entity born into the material plane. Death and birth are mirror images. Just as a newborn enters physical consciousness gradually, orienting slowly to light, sound, time, and space, so a soul entering the post-death state may not immediately realize the transition has occurred. The readings note, matter-of-factly, that many individuals have remained in that called death for what we call years without realizing they were dead. This is not a frightening image. It is a philosophically coherent one that we will explore in this video. The reading's framework for death begins with the multidimensional model of consciousness we have explored in previous videos. The soul is a multidimensional entity. The physical body is its instrument in the three-dimensional world of Earth experience. Death is not the destruction of the soul. It is the release of the soul from one-dimensional level into a broader awareness. The readings describe this with a phrase that has become one of the most well-known in the Cayce readings. Death is only passing through God's other door. It is not an ending, rather a transition to another learning environment. The same soul, the same accumulated experience, the same fundamental identity, now operating in a dimensional space that the waking physical mind cannot access. What the transition feels like depends, according to the readings, on the state of consciousness the soul brings with it. Those who have cultivated spiritual awareness are more likely to recognize the transition quickly. Those who have been deeply identified with physical existence, whose consciousness has been almost entirely absorbed in material concerns, may not realize for some time that the physical phase has ended. The first environment encountered after physical death is what the readings call the borderland or inter-between, a transitional space in which the soul gradually reorients to its expanded awareness. The conscious mind's filtering function, which during physical life restricted awareness to sensory experience, is now absent. The soul becomes gradually aware of the broader context of its journey. This borderland corresponds to what Plato described in the myth of air as the meadow where souls gather between incarnations. It is the purgatory of Christian tradition, not punishment, but a transitional space of review, reorientation, and choice. The comparative near-death experience literature, documented by Raymond Moody and George Ritchie, describes consistent features: a sense of expanded awareness, a life review, encounters with other souls, and an experience of light and love. The readings describe the borderland as a staging area, not a permanent residence. The soul reviews its most recent earthly experience, processes its karma, and chooses, or is guided toward, the next phase of its development. For some souls, that means a planetary sojourn. For others, more advanced development in systems beyond our solar system, or perhaps a relatively rapid reincarnation into another earthly life. One of the most distinctive details in the reading's account of the interlife transition is the concept of soul birth, the moment at which the soul enters and takes possession of a new physical body. This is not the same as physical birth. The readings note, in some cases, differences between the timing of physical birth and soul birth. A soul may enter the body in the final hours before physical birth, or in the hours following. Several life readings specify not only from which planetary sphere the soul took its most recent flight, but the precise time at which soul birth occurred. This detail matters for several reasons. It grounds the concept of planetary sojourns in something measurable, the actual position of planets at the moment of soul birth, which is the basis for astrological information in the Cayce readings. It explains why the readings treat astrology as meaningful. The position of the planets at soul birth reflects the actual dimensional environment from which the soul most recently departed. And it frames the entire process of physical incarnation as an active event, the soul pushing itself into the body, completing its possession of the physical instrument, arriving from somewhere specific in the dimensional field of the solar system. In other words, God's door swings both ways, in and out, providing a portal between dimensions of experience. Death in one realm is birth into another. There is a continuity of consciousness, an expansiveness of the soul's journey back to its source, extending even to Arcturus and beyond. The readings contain one of their most fascinating and cosmologically expansive details in connection with the interlife transition, the role of Arcturus. Arcturus, the brightest star in the northern celestial hemisphere, is described in the readings as the center of this universe, a cosmic portal through which souls pass during the interlife period. And at this portal, a significant choice is made as to whether it is to return to this planetary system or to pass on to others. Thus, after completing the curriculum of this solar system, after sufficient development through earthly incarnations and planetary sojourns within our Sun's family, souls arrive at a point of genuine cosmic choice, return for further development within this system, or move on to other star systems and other dimensions of experience. This expands the scope of the soul's journey from a local to a genuinely cosmic scale. Earth is not the only classroom. This solar system is not the only school. The soul's trajectory, if followed to its ultimate destination, leads through Arcturus and beyond, through systems and planes of consciousness that the readings describe but do not elaborate in detail, presumably because they exceed what finite minds in three-dimensional Earth experience can meaningfully grasp. Death, in the reading's framework, is one of the most philosophically ordinary events in the soul's journey, not annihilation, not vague spiritual persistence, but a specific transition between dimensional levels, from the three-dimensional classroom of Earth into the expanded awareness of the inter-between, and from there into whatever the soul's development most requires next. We have considered God's other door, the mirror image of birth, then the soul arriving where it is going, just as it arrived here, gradually becoming conscious of the new environment, bringing everything it has learned for what comes next. If death is truly God's other door, a transition rather than an ending, what does that change about how you inhabit this life? If the soul arrives in the inter-between carrying the full quality of its earthly consciousness, what quality of consciousness are you building right now?